Hey everyone, this is Chris. You're listening to the Dead Regime podcast. I've got Simon and Pete here, and we are going to be discussing school holidays. We've also got a whole bunch of content coming in the next month. We've got a 2-part mathematics podcast with Rob Prophet White that will be coming in the next week or fortnight. And we've got a whole bunch of other stuff planned. Stick with us.
Let's carry on. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey, we're all in the middle of school holidays. Being teachers, we get the benefit of having school holidays with our kids. It made me wonder though whether, first of all, have holidays changed for you since you've had kids?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you do specifically different things, or just that because you don't get to do what you want to do all the time anymore?
I think there's a different level of focus with when you've got a kid in terms of things that you might need to get done. Or, I mean, to be honest, we're still in the awesome, happy zone of the fact that our child goes to daycare. So holidays are still actually holidays for one more year until he actually starts school. So 3 days of these weeks, he's actually been at daycare.
Nice.
But yeah, I think from that perspective, it hasn't massively changed. But I don't know. I don't think just maybe my attitude has changed over the last few years, whereas I'd be quite happy several years ago, 10 years ago, to spend every single day just playing my guitar.
Yeah.
Every day. But you can't get away with that now. I don't know why, because it's not like I haven't painted my son's room, or haven't had to go out and buy him anything, or haven't had to organise anything specifically for him. But yeah, just your attitude around the house is a bit different, I think. And I suppose outside then of daycare, once we pick him up, those events are slightly different to what it would have been in the past, sitting around just watching TV.
See, I've noticed my holidays have changed between, like, approaching a holiday. We would, before we had Thomas, it would either be an all or nothing holiday. So it would be this holiday, we're going somewhere, we're doing this is what this holiday is about. Or it would be, we're not doing anything, we're relaxing, we're chilling. It was never sort of any in between. It was sort of an all or nothing thing. Whereas now I'm very much conscious of trying to find a balance between busy and chilling out.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember as a kid is, like my parents would, they had a caravan. Later on, they got rid of the caravan. We had a little boat, like they had a cabin that you could sleep in and stuff like that. So we used to do these little trips, that would be, holiday, weekend away and that sort of stuff. And I always remember having heaps of fun doing that. But I also remember just desperately wanting to be at home sometimes and just play with my toys.
Yeah.
And so I'm always conscious of trying to make sure that over the course of a holiday that we're doing both, that we're not just doing all or nothing.
Yeah, I think it's important as well. I'm going to use a bit of a phrase here, kids of this generation, which just makes me sound older than I actually am. But need to be able to entertain themselves as well without just saying they're bored within the first 3 minutes. And it's not about, in my day, we didn't have any of these things. We didn't have the technology or the phones or the iPads or the apps or any of that sort of stuff. It's more just, I agree with what you're saying. Sometimes you just need to appreciate the ability to sit and chill. As a family, each of you go off and do your own things and not be too stressed about what's happening around the house.
Yeah, see, I'm getting better at not trying to smash everything out. Before kids, I was just doing everything. It wasn't an all or nothing. It was all and not nothing. You know what I mean? Like
Nothing didn't exist.
I mean, it wasn't that long. I wasn't back from England that long, and so every holiday in England, it was like, right, I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to go to Spain. I'm going to go. That's what
taking
that's what
advantage
the
of your location.
Yeah, that's right. So the years leading up to having Jax, there was only probably a matter of a year, 18 months of holidays before we had him. So those 18 months, 9 of those we were pregnant. And so, like it wasn't, but it was all, my holidays were leave the day that school finished and then get back
on the Sunday
hopefully the day before school goes back. But now that I've got kids and a mortgage and a house and all of that sort of stuff, I found myself not being that present a lot of the times in the holidays, because I'd be thinking, I've got to get that done. I didn't get this done in the term. I didn't get that done in the term. And so I've gotten a lot better at going, right, I'm going to spend a day doing that and I'm going to get that done. So we actually booked the kids into at the beginning of the week on Monday, Elisa Darlison, who is at our school's writers thing. She had a day for kids to be booked into, 7 to 14-year-olds, and she did a writing course with our kids for a day on fantasy writing. So I booked the kids in that day, and then I got a whole bunch of jobs done while they were away. But outside of that, I've been spending a bit more time doing things with them. We bought mountain bikes. The kids have saved up a whole bunch of money with the recycling cans and bottles. They've set up a recycling program kind of in our street.
That's right, in the street, yeah.
They've taken black boxes around. When people put their recycling bins out, they put out their little black box that the boys have given them with all their cans and bottles.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so since the beginning of November, they've saved, let's say ballpark of $400 by collecting the cans and bottles. And I just got sick of not having the mountain bikes. So now they were learning about, owing someone money. So we did that the other day. We went down to Sugarbag Road down in Caloundra, and Storm, my partner, she got a bike too. Got her a mountain bike too. And so we went mountain biking, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now the boys are old enough and capable enough to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think
to that point, which is great.
That's the thing that Chris is talking about. What kind of things do you do differently to what you did perhaps before you had kids? But it might even then go back and go, what are you now redoing that you used to do as a kid?
Yeah.
And things like that, mountain biking, and slowly as your kids get older, being able to introduce them to those things and start to get excited about, hang on, this is going to be cool. Like I took Jude to his first NRL match last week. Now it's actually his second NRL match, but the first one he was about 3 months old. So we're not classifying it as a good memory. And plus my team lost when he was 3 months old as well. But it was great, and we went out to Suncorp to see, the Tigers against the Broncos, and the Tigers won in the last minute. And then we went down and we actually had a photograph taken with Jude's favourite player.
Jude's favourite player?
He's Jude's favourite player because he's got one of these sort of new fandangled mullet style haircuts where it's completely shaved on the top and it's long at the back. So Jude, easy to spot. He's the only one that Jude can pick out because he just shouts "what a haircut" when he comes on TV. So what a haircut. So it was amazing when I saw him coming towards the crowd at the end of the game. I'm just, backpack on my back, Jude in my arms, climbing over chairs, pushing people out of the way to meet this player. But he loved it, and it was a really cool moment for me because it was just like, this could be the start of him wanting to come with me and being able to sit through most of it. He had a couple of little drops.
Oh, it's a long time for a little
we did
fella.
the same thing.
How old is he?
4.
It's a long time to be watching something that's...
We took Thomas down to Brisbane versus Port Adelaide on the first Saturday of the holidays. And the same, it was his first match. He was bored by quarter time, but he managed to sit there, and there was enough happening, the crowd, there was enough going on that it was, to pique his interest every now and then to keep him entertained. But I don't think we'll be rushing back.
No, okay.
But that's been my dilemma the whole time. It's only now one of my boys is starting to show interest in football, and I've been patient, and I'm there now, and my patience has paid off. But I've tried what you're saying, and tried probably a couple of times, and it hasn't worked. But now it would. Now the handy thing was getting both of them to a sporting venue now, was going to 2020, the Big Bash,
yeah.
because it is so, they do put on the fireworks, it's so spectacular.
It's just an event,
There's so much for them to see.
And it's always in the middle of the ground. That was the thing with the football, is that the play isn't always in the middle of the ground.
Yeah.
And it can be way over the other side, and it's difficult. Even though, the Gabba is a pretty good venue for watching sport, the nature of the game means that half the time the ball's on the other side of the ground. And
and they're confused as to why are they over there and now where are they going.
Yeah.
And is it, can we go home yet? Is that just before half time?
That's right. Every time there's a siren. Is that it?
Yeah. It's time to go. He never wants to go home. He loves being out of it until we're in the middle of a game. So, you get a chance to try those things out on holidays that you probably wouldn't do during the term, perhaps.
What do you need from your holiday?
Oh, guitar time. I think just independent time. You really, sorry, Pete.
Sorry, no, I thought you were finished.
You do need to have some time just by yourself to do whatever you want. And again, this holiday is the first day. We were in Sydney for the first few days. And we came back, and it was the first day that Jude had gone to daycare. We dropped him off, we came home, and we virtually sat in different rooms for about 5 hours. And I read some of my book, and then I got into a YouTube loophole and just followed for about an hour of random YouTube videos. But it felt really good. It was just, I don't have anything to do right now. So I think what you were saying before about being able to chill and have that downtime, for me, that's massively important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a friend who I hung out with on the first Tuesday of our school holidays, and he was a builder for 20 years and then went and did his teaching degree, and now he's teaching. And it was really interesting to see his perspective that, it took him until that Tuesday. He goes, I'm finally there now, and he was talking in this, like, it takes a few days to sort of realise and get into that holiday mode and all of that sort of stuff. It's that intense towards the end of the term, trying to get everything done. And he said, he'd said to me in the past that there was one term. Do you remember when we all got sent home because that storm was coming down from up north, and we all got sent home 2 days early?
Cyclone.
I did.
Yeah,
because I was up north and it missed us.
Yeah, so we all got sent home early, and he'd mentioned, because he was quite new to teaching at this point, and he mentioned to me, he was like, I didn't get everything finished. I feel like I've gone on holidays and it's incomplete. And I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do now when I go back. Do I finish off the projects that I was doing with the kids? He's a high school teacher as well, so there is a bit more gravitas, I guess, in getting things finished in some respect for him. But some of the kids might not even be coming back to my, like that they might only do his subject for a term, or he might be his timetable might change, and there was all of these funny things. And so, back to the other day when I was talking to him, he was like, it took me 2 or 3 days and a couple of good surfs to kind of just realise, right, I'm on holidays now, I can just forget about what was going on. And I look back now and I used to think, oh my God, teachers used to get so many holidays. He said, but you probably wouldn't maintain sanity if you didn't get those holidays. It's not just for the kids. It's possibly and probably for the teachers too. I've kind of started to see a bit more of my partner Storm's point of view. She kind of gets stuff done, and then by 2 or 3 o'clock, that's it. Cooking dinner is on the cards, and that's about it after 2 or 3 o'clock most days for her. So if we're doing activities, if we're cleaning the house, it doesn't matter what the activity is, we kind of try and wind them up by about 2 or 3 o'clock, because those couple of hours where you're sitting and chilling and watching a movie, doing that is kind of important to her, and I can see how it's now important to me too. That's kind of become more of a thing for me, where I actually need to stop and take a breath, because I'm not the kind of person that would usually do that.
Especially when your afternoons during the term aren't just filled with work. You've also got after school commitments with the kids and stuff like that. And so having an afternoon where you're actually not doing something in the middle of the week is rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get stressed at 3 o'clock on the holidays though. My God, that's another day. That's ridiculous. I've still got like another 7 hours before I go to bed, but you go, it's another day gone.
See, I've had a bit of a change of outlook on it this year, having 1 day extra off a week.
Yeah.
That I got into such a beautiful routine in term 1 with my 4 days in getting everything I needed to have done, and then really using my Friday for myself. My approach to the holidays used to always be, what I wanted was to just disappear.
Yeah.
And just zone out and just recover and then gear myself back up for the next term. I don't feel that way this year so far. Who knows, by halfway through the year I might have changed completely. But I feel so much more relaxed and so much more willing to go and do stuff in holidays because I'm not feeling as stressed and as exhausted as I used to after a term of teaching.
And you've had that time. You've had those days where you've been able to, you know, tick your boxes for yourself, you know, and so that's the advice. Take a day off a week.
Take it. That's it. That's it.
So 4-day work week.
4-day work week's the future.
Take that, election. Or at least afternoon siestas.
Whatever you can get. Yeah. Speaking of teaching and holidays, what do you see after the holidays when you get back into class? Do you notice changes, differences?
I think it's always interesting to get back in and see the different attitudes you get from kids in terms of what they've done. You know, loads of them will be full of stories or, you know, things that they've done and want to tell everybody about what they did and who they went to see. And then you do get those students who don't really do much at all and they want to sort of sit quietly and not be asked about it because they don't want to share. I always used to find it, I think, with the younger kids where, you know, your first couple of days back, you always do a, what did you do on the holiday writing? Yeah. And you always get those ones that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And you say, well, yeah, you did. Because you kind of sat for 2 weeks. It's just typical teacher talk. Everyone said this sentence. Well, you must have, because you kind of sat for 2 weeks. But you do come across those students who you think, yeah, I actually think you probably haven't done
anything. But then there's always that one kid in the class who's done some amazing things and just sort of like, meh, yeah.
Went to the Barrier Reef and
went to Africa. And, I don't know.
Are you talking about kids that are acting as like nonchalant?
No. They're genuinely kind of just nonplussed about the awesome stuff they do. Whether because that they do so many awesome things that it's just not
just another awesome thing that they've done.
Or they're kind of that humble kind of kid who just doesn't want to be seen to be bragging about what they did. But yeah, so it's not always I didn't do anything. You know, sometimes it's that. I guess I did do. Yeah, well, Paris was good, I guess.
I think for me, when I look at it in terms of my own kids and what I'd want them to go back and write about, I think I've always had in my head about, with my kids, not being totally device-driven, because that's what my boys can get sucked into. And I think I've said it before on the podcast, it's like I want them to learn a new skill, I want them to build something, I want them to find other things to do. And it's really become to the forefront of my mind at the moment in building capabilities in my kids in what they enjoy. They're both really into basketball at the moment, and so there's been a lot of basketball out on the street. And I can see that my younger son is becoming way more confident in himself because capabilities are building up. And I can see that with the mountain bike, that's built up confidence as well. And so he's done lots of really cool stuff these holidays. And if you really look at it on paper, he's played basketball, he's ridden a bike, he's done this, he's done that. But in terms of personal growth and development, I can really see in him how much more confident he's becoming in himself, and that's been him more calm in the down times, a more happier person as well. I can really see that, and that kind of started and was a really noticeable thing when we did our big holiday, last holidays when we went to Japan, and it was skiing, and he really took a liking to skiing, and he started to realise that he's really quite physically capable, in a sporting kind of way. So now that set him on a path as well. And that's the holiday you'd expect him to come back and go, I went to Japan and I did this and I did that and I did that.
So sounds like what you're saying is that as parents, we shouldn't measure the success of holidays based on what on the events that happen on other people's holidays.
Oh, yes.
On other people's Facebooks.
Yeah.
But you know what? Last week we spent quite a bit of money on buying mountain bikes and activities, and said to the boys, so next week is cheap week. We're not going and spending any money. And it's been, can we ride our bikes down and can we kick the football? Can we, and it's been, but that's that stuff that's happened this week. And it's probably you don't have to spend a lot of money to make the holidays enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think that Marley's feeling just as capable of the skills that he's worked on here in Australia at that time as what he did when we spent the big money to going in Japan. I mean, there's great memories and all of that sort of stuff, but there's just as much value for me in what's happening. So I'm interested in the. You taught a younger class last year. I've taught younger classes before as well. You taught a year one class last year. And, when you teach those younger classes, you spend a lot of time building up routines, particularly in that first term.
Yeah.
What was the experience like coming back after the holidays, say from that first set of holidays? Was there a lot of rebuilding expectations after the holidays because things had been a bit loose because they'd been on holidays? Did that improve over the year, or?
I think by the end of the year, by term 4, I mean, I felt it took me a long time all year to get real good procedures and routines in place just with the class. Mm-hmm. But I'd be honest and say I don't necessarily think I'd relate it to age or a year level particularly. I think there are always going to be students who don't have a particularly structured holiday period. There's students who don't have particularly structured weekends and come in on a Monday.
Day to day.
Well, yeah. But I think, with year 1, there was a lot more repetition of the expectations. And so this is what we do and this is what we're doing now and don't forget that. But I think across all year levels, you have those students who come back and just aren't ready to come back into normality. And whether that be, I mean, it's hard to judge really, whether that be because they've been on a huge long trip away. And I know you touched on it when you guys did the pod at the very beginning of the year about starting the school. Some of those students have been on a holiday and haven't come back until the night before. Mm-hmm. And they come in on day 1 and they're knackered. They're not ready physically to start school again. But yeah, I wouldn't say specifically it was an age thing. I think I found that throughout the year with my year 1s that it was a lot more repetition of my expectations. But I think you find it in a lot of different classes now that I've taught across most years in the school. You always come back after a holiday and you've got those 2 or 3 who quite possibly haven't done much in the holidays either. Or been given a little bit.
So they're ripping to get back to school because they can.
yeah, maybe. Or just I don't know. I always find that those students who've given a bit more free rein in their own choices at holiday, there's not as much, time spent with parents or time spent in routines and going to bed at a good time and during the holidays. Fair enough, it's a holiday, go to bed a bit later, that's acceptable.
And as teachers, we've got to understand too that not everyone is on holidays. And so
yes,
spending time with your kids on holidays is a luxury that we get.
Massively.
That not everyone
Huge. And you always find that, I think, towards the end of the term, you write that little email and just, wishing everyone a good holiday and hope you have a great holiday. And then you send it and go, hang on.
Well, I will.
I'm having 2 weeks away from your child. You've now got to find 2 weeks full of activities to keep your child busy, especially if you're working full time. So, I'll never knock that fact of being able to.
Because I know I have family friends who say that the time spent in daycare during the holidays is far more exhausting like over a week than a week at school. Like that's their experience, their anecdotal experience that they find that the kids are just far more drained through that than the school week. Yeah,
I can identify with that because when I got back from England and I didn't have a full-time job, I worked at one of those out-of-school hours cares things during the summer holidays, and it was harsh. Like, I hated every minute of it. Like,
What, full on?
well, like the way the day's structured, the fact that the kids are on holidays and they want to be elsewhere, they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
You've got 21-year-old kids trying to keep some semblance of order, and I think it's gotten better since I did it, say 10 years ago, where because I drive past one quite regularly, and they kind of get activities to come in to kind of make the day a little bit more exciting. But I'd worked there for about 2 weeks, and the girl she was 21, and she was the head staff
Honcho.
Honcho. She's losing her voice by day 7, day 8, and I was like, you're losing your voice because you keep yelling over the top of these. You're not, whenever you're giving instructions, you're not settling them all down and calming them all down, and I got put in my place pretty quickly. Like, what do you know? And I was like, well, I've been a teacher for 10 years, I could help you with this. So I just waited till her voice ran out, and then I kind of
took over.
Took over a little bit, and then
now I'm head honcho.
And then that after and the one day that I did it, and she was all huffy, I quit. I quit that afternoon. But I can see why parents would say that I'm talking about this one experience that I had 10 years ago.
yeah.
They're not. They've done a cert for in something, the people that are in charge, and there's so many routines that they have to do, so much health and safety stuff, and really they haven't got the facilities to keep kids engaged for 8-10
long
hours.
day. Yeah,
And it is. It's essentially a school day minus the school part.
yeah.
It's a school day in length, but it's just playtime.
Yeah.
It's lunchtime. I'm not saying it's playtime. They would do
Plus
other
the
activities.
extra 2 or 3 hours. Some kids get dropped there at 7, some and picked up at 6.
And 6,
I can't throw stones at parents that do that. But I walked out of there and kind of went, my child will not be going to a childcare place in school holidays.
Yeah. And I think it is important
that was
to...
just because I'd seen it from the inside out, and I was like, no, this is shocking.
But I think it's important to look at it from
However, that was just my own personal experience, and I don't want to email saying you suck.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't get it. I'll get it.
But it's the right... I think, Chris came up with the right perspective. We are lucky to be in the position we're in. You say you don't want to throw stones, and obviously we don't. Because there's so many people who don't have the luxury that we do of being able to keep our children with us, and give them those opportunities. Some of those children come back in on the first Monday of term, and they've basically spent the entire holiday with other children. Yeah, in a situation like that, they probably haven't massively enjoyed it. Possibly. Might just be grateful to get back to school and some routine.
I know some parents who go and book their kids into the good days. So, they go and find out when all of the local places...
The events.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to Aussie Zoo on Wednesday, are you? Oh, $20 a head, right, eh? I'll book my 3 kids in, thanks. And then they don't have to take them to Aussie World or Australia Zoo or whatever.
It's genius, actually.
That's a great idea.
So to wrap up this topic, Ben, occasionally I get asked about academic considerations by parents over the holidays. What should we do academically over the holidays to keep our kids moving forward? What advice do you give when you get that?
Enjoy the time with your kids when you get the opportunity. And again, because a lot of those parents don't. If you're going on holiday, go on holiday. Talk with the kids about the things that you see on holiday. Discuss things with them. Have a chat with them. And if they want to keep a diary while they're there, do it. However, that is not me telling you, I want a diary brought to me on day one of term that we then have to read as show and tell.
Yeah.
I mean, we always talk about it, reading is always going to be a goal.
Yeah.
It's always a target for students, and at any point in your life, you know, and getting to that point where it's just for enjoyment, that your child just wants to take a book on holiday or 2 or 3 books on holiday with them. But yeah, I try and veer away from that whole conversation of, oh, we're going away, we might be away into the start of next term. Can you send some homework? Is there any homework that we can do? No, not really. No.
I know we've got a special guest coming up in the next couple of episodes, a mathematical, what would you call him?
Genius.
Guru?
Honcho.
Mathematical
I'm just going to use that word.
teaching guru, which I'm sure people will want to tune in for. But one of the things that I do with my kids a lot is just talk about, like, if we're going somewhere, right, it's 20 kilometres. You know, like, I do a lot of that. I just do a lot of that chat.
Maths.
And do you know what? We had one of my kids' birthday parties last Wednesday, and I gave him $50 and said, right, here's go through the Coles catalogue, and you've got to buy all your food, decorations, whatever. And then, so I showed him how to make a spreadsheet on Excel, and then he took a calculator with him, and we went through, and so we were like, he wanted to make hamburgers, like bought the tomatoes, weighed the tomatoes, then had to work out how much the tomatoes were, because there were 600 grams of tomatoes, but it was $9 a kilo. Went through, got it to, you know, it was at $30 before he'd really even started. And so then we were looking at, okay, so if you've got, you know, and then started doing all of that quantity check, how, you know, buying in bulk, all of that sort of stuff. We found cheaper buns in one place, and then so we had to swap them out, and then he had to work out how to take the money off and add the money back on. Or did he have to take all of the money off? Could he just take some of the money off and all of that? And in the end, he got it down to about $35, and he bought cake, which is, we've got a bit of a tradition at our place where you just buy a 2-litre ice cream, tip it upside down, and then give every kid a spoon. It works. You don't go home with any cake. And he bought extra, you know, like he didn't buy any lollies or any chips or any of that sort of stuff. He was just aiming at the burgers for starters and drinks. Like he had to have lemonade. Anyway, but then he got to $35 and was like, oh, well, I can go and buy this now. And so we were there for an hour and a half shopping, but it was like such a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's a simple thing to do. It's just having that as an idea, I suppose. And it's been able to say to parents, you know, just try some of these things. It's easy to say, you know, just do some writing with them, some daily writing or whatever. But
just chuck, you know, if you take your kid to the shops, give them your phone with the calculator on and see if they can add up as you go. You know, like it's real.
Give them your phone and $50. You're keen, mate. You're keen.
Take him, go down the track. But in terms of what I think kids should do during their holidays, well, for me at the moment, like I said, whatever they like, help them build their capabilities in that area. I think that's reasonable. If they like kicking the ball, help them kick it better. Spend time with them.
Sounds good.
That's playlist, eh? So Chris, what's on your playlist? So Chris, what's on your playlist?
Keep going.
So Chris, what's on your playlist?
There's only one thing on my playlist at the moment.
Yeah.
One thing.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it.
That's it. Don't say any more.
This is what day is it? April 17 that we're watching this. So Game of Thrones returned 2 days ago.
Yep.
And just can't wait for the next episode. It is the only show that I'm currently like still watching. You know, like every other TV show that I've tried to watch, I've gotten part of the way through the seasons. I've, you know, left it, tried to come back to it, lost interest. This is the only one that I'm still fully engaged in.
And I admire you for that. Because for God's sake, I wish... This is not my playlist. But people, don't ever start the blacklist. Don't ever
we made that
start
mistake.
The blacklist. Oh my God.
So we should do a thing called What's Not on Your Playlist.
Yeah.
Are you still going, or have you given up?
Oh,
Mate, give up. We gave up after season 3.
Oh,
Anyway, so it's good.
But I don't want to spoil.
No. So we've only had one episode so far.
One episode so far.
and is it one coming out every week?
Yes, but there's only like 6 or
they're
7
long?
episodes, and they are. The first one wasn't particularly long. It was over an hour, but from what I understand is that like the last 3 or 4 are at least an hour and a half. It's like it's like finishing with 3 or 4 movies. So.
And it's finishing. That's it.
It's finishing and it's done until they do some kind of origin story or
And
There's definite talk of a spin-off.
Yeah.
There'll be spin-offs. Like even, what's his name? George R.R. What's the name of the guy who wrote it?
Yep.
He's saying that there should be a 9th season.
Well, he's gonna. The interesting thing is that he's writing his finale currently. So the last 2 seasons aren't written by him. They're not based on his story because he'd never finished the series. So the current story is written by, I should know their names. And the reason why I'm extra invested in this season is because I want it to be really good because the 2 writers are writing the next Star Wars trilogy.
Oh, I had to come in something.
Pete, what's on your playlist?
Documentary, The Legend of Cocaine Island.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen it?
I've seen the preview for it.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's what was that documentary you were talking about with the
Fire Festival.
Fire Festival, right?
Yeah.
This one's that same like element of you're not gonna you did that.
He did.
You're not gonna do. Okay, you did that. It's that kind of thing. So the idea is, right, that there's this guy, he's about 54, 55, it's 2012, he's got he came from nothing, built a building business up, had the 3-car garage, had the Harley, had the fancy cars, the wife was happy, she didn't have to work. GFC hits, he loses all of his money, ends up with this farm out the back of somewhere or another, 40-acre farm. And one of the neighbours is this old hippie dude that wanders around barefoot with a stick, right? And every Friday night, all the farms get together at one person's place and get on the piss. And this guy always tells the story of how when he was down in Puerto Rico with his wife, who was a marine biologist studying turtles, he'd just walk the beaches all day, and one day he found 32 kilograms of coke just lying on the beach, and he went,
as you do,
and he went and buried it, and like he was scared that someone would come looking for it, so he changed the position of this coke every day, and he ended up burying it and leaving it, and 20 years later he's still telling that story, and everyone calls bullshit on it except for ex-millionaire who goes, well, I think I might go and look for it. And that's where the documentary goes from there. And like, it's just like all the players in it are just hilarious. And you're just going, oh my God, you cannot be serious. It's a lot of fun. It's not a long documentary, but it's
just a one-off.
Yeah, it's a one-off. There's enough in it that just makes it a lot of fun. Like, and you like the character, like the people in it. You couldn't write them in. Like they're just like the guy telling the story, the older guy, right? Like you could see 20 years ago him as a builder and just having a bit of swagger around the guys, but he's there and he's chewing tobacco and spitting into a bottle and like just telling the story, and he's a really nice guy. Like he's just a nice guy that made a dumb decision. And then he finds this guy to help him, right? And this guy's a caricature of a cartoon of a person that you'd ask to help. Like it'd be like going, who'd be a good person to help me travel through time? I know. I'll get Bill. Bill and Ted. Of all the characters to get, I'll get that guy. And that's what this guy's like. It's hilarious. It's so much fun.
Nice. Simon, what's on your playlist?
I'm always really conscious of suggesting comedy to other people because it's quite a personal thing, I think, comedy. Everyone's got their own likes and dislikes, and there's nothing worse than someone sitting you down and forcing you to watch a sketch or a stand-up routine and sitting there feeling like you have to watch it. So that's always in my mind. But playlist at the moment is an American comedian called Burnham. So Bo, just spelled B-O. He's been around for nearly, probably over 10 years now, doing bits and pieces. Started off as a YouTuber, just putting out songs, comedy songs, playing on the piano, and I wasn't aware of him at this point. And then was very, very popular when that Vine period was around, before that went under. So, the whole purpose of those Vines was you only got like 6 seconds to record a short video and make it funny. And it was where memes, a lot of memes came from. But his comedy is a bit like that. Some of the comedy lasts about 6 or 7 seconds and you're like, holy shit, what's going on? It's odd. It's bizarre. He's a very, very good musician and a very good songwriter. I find it very funny. It's a bit offensive at times, but that's the kind of humor that I like. Takes the piss out of a lot of different groups and people, and himself. He's very self-depreciating. Is that the right word? Yeah.
Yep.
But it's almost like there's parts of it which is almost like performance art. He has these segments where he's talking into the microphone and there's a response coming through the speakers, which is just a pre-recorded bit that he's recorded. So he's talking to himself and you're like, where's this going? And all of a sudden it leads into a song, or it leads somewhere that you just totally weren't expecting it to. And it's specifically a stand-up routine that I first saw in 2013 when it first came out, called What? And a lot of his stuff is now available on Netflix. So I refound it recently, and it's one of those ones where you're not always able to watch the entire stand-up in one go, because you just go, God, this is too much. He's really over it, and he's quite camp, and he's quite over the top. And sometimes you just go, I've watched about 25 minutes, I need a break.
That's enough.
I'll watch the rest of this tomorrow.
Have you got a recommended clip for me to put on the song?
There's a fantastic song called Sad,
This is the one
which
you
I did
shared
play
with
to
me,
you
yes.
a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And it's all about the sad things in the world. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Cool.
Worth a listen.
All right. That's us. Catch you next time.
Yeah.